You're listening to Healthy Aging and Healthy Living on New England's News and Talk Radio, 8:30 a.m. WCRN.
Welcome back, everyone. Peter Lee, Healthy Aging, Healthy Living. I'm from Professional Hearing in Westboro. And we're here talking to Jane, who's telling us about her journey from hearing impaired to better hearing and all the emotions and all the processes that she's gone through. And now we're back. How are you doing, Jane?
I'm doing great.
Okay. So I thought that, while we were at the break there, you were saying that you'd be willing to talk to anybody who had some doubts about going forward with this. Would it be okay if someone comes in and they're not certain that they want to go through, that we can provide them with your phone number and you can talk to them?
Very much so, yes. I really want everybody to hear as well as I'm hearing. I can't believe the difference, like I've said several times. I do think that people feel as though it's a stigma to be deaf, or even just a mild hearing loss. I've always worked in the field of mental health, and that has always been a stigma to people that have it. But hearing loss, any disability that you have can cause you to feel like you have a stigma. And it's not true. This is something that can be corrected. It may not be exactly perfect like you were when you were 5 and 6 years old, but it makes you feel as though you can be a part of things again, and you've missed so much. When my nieces and nephew were young, I missed so much that they said because I couldn't hear them. And with their little soft, nice little voices that they had at that point. And all those things help with bonding with people.
Sure.
If you can't communicate with them, you can't have a conversation.
Well, even today, I know you say it's not a stigma, but many people view it as a stigma. There's a certain amount that they feel like they're being deficient in some way, that you see them with hearing aids. But, it's like glasses. When I was young, and I got glasses when I was like in the 6th, 7th grade, they used to call me Four Eyes.
Oh.
But I don't think anybody even thinks about that now.
No.
And I can envision that, 50, 60 years from now, then many people will have hearing aids and people won't view it as a stigma, like Four Eyes.
Mm-hmm. And it was interesting. I was talking to one of my coworkers, it was just a couple days ago, and I was saying how I was going to be doing this program today. And she says, "You wear hearing aids?" And I said, "Yes, I've been wearing them 11 months now." She said, "I never even knew that you had hearing aids." And they're invisible, just about invisible. I know they're there, but I don't even feel them anymore. They're just there. But it's interesting how we perceive ourselves as everybody's looking at us because we're wearing hearing aids. They don't even notice it. And I myself was talking to one of my seniors who dropped in to see me the other day, and she was saying how she has hearing aids, and I didn't believe her. So I said, "Take them out. I want to see what they look like." And they were almost the same as mine, and I didn't know that she had them in either.
Well, you've hit on a really important point, which is they're much more discreet today than they were in the past, and especially when you wear your hair a little longer like this. It hides it really, really well. Mm-hmm.
But the day I went for the preliminary hearing test, Alex did the hearing test, and then he all of a sudden he had a hearing aid in his hand. I said, "Where'd that come from?"
And he said, "That's mine."
Yeah, I didn't know that, and you don't notice it. If you call attention to it, people are interested. But the first week I had them, first few weeks, I'd take them out, see what I got, and show everybody how small they are and how comfortable they are, but most of all, how well you could hear.
I think the truth is, if you're hearing well, nobody cares, and they don't realize it.
No.
It's only when you're having trouble asking them to repeat or this, that, and the other thing, and all of a sudden they're looking at you funny because they say, "Gee, why is she having so much difficulty?" I had that experience, when I first started, and the woman came in, and she got a pair of hearing aids, and 2 weeks later, she comes back and she says, "Why didn't you tell me these were so comfortable? Why didn't you tell me these work so well?" I said, "Well, I just met you a few weeks ago. He said, if I known this, I would have done this 10 years ago. And she was telling me all the troubles that she have and that her hearing loss was more noticeable than her hearing aids. That's the takeaway I got. She says, my hearing loss, having difficulty, was much more noticeable than the fact I have something in my ear. Because she says, if you're hearing people, nobody even cares what you have in your ears.
That's right. I, on purpose, did not tell people at first that I was getting hearing aids. I wanted them to continue on the way they were in speaking in their regular tones of voice and to see what I could hear on a regular basis. And so it was very interesting, and I had to ask people to speak softer at first because I had asked them to speak louder for so many years that now I was saying, that's a little loud, And then one lady picked up on it because she said, you're not asking me to repeat anymore.
Oh, so she observed that
She
from
observed
you.
it very much so.
So she's very close to you. Oftentimes it takes someone close to you or know you very well to pick up that perception.
Mm-hmm. I just think that it's, I think everybody should try, even if you don't get them, at least go in and see what your hearing can be like. And I think people would be very, very surprised to see how well you can hear. I remember the first day I came to the office, and after the hearing evaluations and you fitted me with the hearing aids, I remember Alex and I walked down to Route 9. And I could hear the traffic. I could hear the wind in the trees. I remember going home that day. I hope I'm not digressing too much. But
this is good.
Going home that day, I could hear the signal lights in the car. I haven't heard signal lights in the car for, I don't remember when. And when I got up near somebody at a traffic light and their radio was blaring, and I never would have heard that before. I got into my driveway and I sat there and I cried. Because I had missed so much over the years. And I said, why didn't I ever do this sooner? And, you don't realize what you're missing when it happens gradually. And if something happens all of a sudden, you're very aware of it. But when something happens on a gradual basis, you're not as apt to notice how much you've missed.
That's a very, very emotional experience when you realize what you've missed.
Very much so.
How things could have changed, but yet your resistance to change, your denial held you back from doing something.
Mm-hmm. I say now, God help anybody who tries to take these away from me because they're not going to get them. I'd probably give my life before I'd give my hearing aids at this point.
You reminded me of a woman I took care of many years ago, and she came in and we got her hearing aids. And I remember her coming in for a 2-week follow-up. And I asked her how she was doing, and she looked at me and she started crying. She started crying, and I'm looking at myself. I'm saying, what did I say wrong? I just asked her how you're doing. And she said, I'm sorry. And I gave her all the Kleenex and everything. She said, what I realized that you've done for me in this last 2 weeks is she was only a young woman, maybe in her early 40s. And she had gone through a nasty divorce. She was now a single mother. Daughter was about 13. She was having a bad relationship with her daughter. And she said, I realized that I'm not sure if that's going to correct everything, but I went through a really bad 20-year spell, and a lot of it could be attributed to my hearing loss. And yet I've been to professionals, and no one even suggested anything for me. And you're the first person that took the opportunity. And she said, I was crying. Later on, she told me that at night when she takes her hearing aid off, she actually cries. Because she says she feels like she's taking a part of herself off, that it's become so much a part of her.
Mm-hmm. I felt the same way. I felt as though it was such a big difference. And even today, after all these months, and when I take them out, it becomes silent, and you can hear, but you can hear muffled. And it's just not the same. It's just very emotional. It is till you get really used to them. Even when I was just saying this, I was filling up with tears myself, thinking back to what it was like a year ago, not quite a year ago. And and I just find that it's so important for people to use whatever senses. God gives you these senses to use for a reason. And he wants us to be able to communicate with one another and to be part of a group and to help one another. If somebody said to me, 5 years ago, that's what it would sound like to me. And yet it would be saying,
What'd you say?
I need some help with this. And that was what I was just saying, mumbling.
Okay.
And that's what I felt like. That's what I was hearing before I got the hearing aids. So I think it makes a big difference, especially when you're caring for people, no matter if it's in the hospital or a nursing home or in your own home. You need to be able to hear their needs, because a lot of times they cannot say what they want to say.
Right.
And you have to be able to hear. You put your ear down to their mouth to try to hear it more clearly and all. So with hearing aids, you hear everything.
Sometimes more than you like. Anyway, we're going to take a brief break here, Jane. Thank you for sharing those wonderful stories. It's really touching and emotional because it's really it's from the heart. And so when we come back, we'll continue with Jane's journey to better hearing, and we'll talk a little bit about the process that you went through. But also, you had told me that there were some things that you do differently now that you have the hearing aids, and we'll talk about that as well. This is Peter Lee, Healthy Aging, Healthy Living. Think young, stay young, and be young.